Greetings, my friends and numerous enemies. This is Weird, but not weirder. I am your host, Troy Neenan. And today's review, we have a new, exciting entry into the library. A Study in Brimstone, written by G.S. Denning. Now and then you take a risk on a product, and while your standards are so low that missionary might seem exciting, you find that one golden nugget in an ocean of poo. Warlock Holmes is a great starter book for anyone who wants to get their kids or themselves into reading. It has a great plot, fantastic characters, and a lot of comedy. Typically, with knockoff books, you get a foul taste in your mouth like somebody has decided to use you as a human toilet. Back in the early days of Kindle, you got a tidal wave of Harry Potter rip-offs, which I may horrify you in a later video. Lucky you. I randomly got this book when looking up satire fantasy. I personally like jokes and good humor, which are very difficult to pull off. I think that I got the book with an audio credit, as I can't remember reading the first book, but I remember listening to it and got instantly hooked. You might like to get the audiobook version of this, as Robert Garson does a great job. The narrator has a terrific range of characters, and I can't imagine Warlock or Watson having any other voice actor. I believe the production company was called Graphic Audio, and it's got a full-star cast. If you do want to have a bit of variety, if you want to have sound effects, if you want to have music, they're the audiobook that you really want to go for, but it's really up to you. For me, Garson does a pretty good job. Plot. Dr. John Watson has just come back from India after having been shot. We find him at his lowest, out of work and having just squandered his last coin on an overhyped beef Wellington, which I've never had, but I am exceptionally plain when it comes to food. Out of the brilliant stroke of, well, let's call it luck, his old friend gets him introduced to one Warlock Holmes, who Watson finds a little odd. Odd, as in the crazy bastard's just beaten off a brain-eating zombie off-screen. Yes, dear listeners, this is perhaps the only book in existence where a version of Sherlock Holmes fights a zombie with a riding crop. Having become Warlock's roommate, Watson starts to notice a few other peculiar oddities about his new roommate, including poisons being scattered around everywhere, the weirdos that pop up, and Warlock spontaneously playing the accordion, which I personally believe is a musical instrument that God put onto this world as a form of torture. Don't believe me? Accordions are the national instrument of North Korea. Things get from weird to fucked up fast when Holmes gets word that there has been a murder, and it is up to him and his friends to solve it before all of London comes after them with flaming torches and pitchforks. If you've ever read the book A Study in Pink, and I haven't, but I did watch the BBC TV show. If you haven't watched Cumberbatch's portrayal of Sherlock Holmes, then do it now, because it is a fantastic series. Except for the last season. I really don't know what was going on in the writer's room. They were either on drugs or out of drugs, but it was absolutely destroyed any desire the world had in the series. What was I saying? Never mind. The point is that this is a fun version of a classic tale. Being a spiritualist himself, I also think that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would have been laughing his head off and nodding in disbelief at some of the paragraphs. I don't know that I should continue on with the rest of the plot, as I do want you to pick up the story, and I don't want to give you any spoilers. If this was a bad book, I'd feel that spoiling the shit out of it would not only be fun, but a duty as a reviewer. I'd want you to know if this was bad, but it's not, and I do want you to read it. Characters. John Watson acts as the main character of the story, and we see the bizarre world of Denning has created through his eyes. John is highly intelligent and acts as a counterbalance for Warlock's odd behavior. While he finds his roommate odd, he sees Warlock as one of his dearest friends. A man of science, Watson is new to the world of magic. He is far from a reluctant hero, bravely stepping forward to combat any foe who dares threaten the world of man. But he is cautious and prefers to use words and not magic to deal with his nonsensical issues. A notable scene is when Holmes lures the cure to the house and Watson is faced with a giant mountain of murderous muscle. Watson has to, instead of fighting the combatant, he has to use his wits. He has to humor the adversary, who is just blabbering on about nonsensical things, and it's a fantastic scene. It's funny, and you'll enjoy it. Warlock Holmes, on the other hand, well, unlike Sherlock Holmes, who is always portrayed as the smartest man in the room, Warlock Holmes comes off as a bumbling twit. However, as the series fleshes out, we learn more about his history and the way he sees the world. Sadly, I can only talk about the Warlock Holmes in this story. The Warlock in this book comes off as a child on copious amounts of sugar-laced cocaine. Childish. He has the kind of boundless energy that halves the lifespans of parents everywhere. This can lead to fantastic scenes, as he is perhaps the most powerful magical being in the setting. Like, think of a character who gets a natural 1 in every perception roll, but has a plus 30 in Arcana checks, and has a pact with every demon in the game. Lestrade. Normally, I don't go into the support characters much, as they aren't really fleshed out, unless they are really, they need to really stand out for me to notice them. But fuck it, how can I pass up on mentioning a Victorian-era Romanian vampire cop? Not that emo, sparkling kind of bloodsucker either, but a blood addict. Shifty bastard. In any other setting, Lestrade could be the star in his own series, but compared to Watson and Warlock, somehow a vampire working as a night shift cop gets put as an NPC quest giver. Same with Grogson. Grogson acts as the comic relief in the series. He doesn't get much screen time in the book, but I can't think of a successful series where you have an ogre police officer. In any other era, in any other setting, an ogre would be a laughable cop character. But this is Victoria, London, motherfuckers. This is crime capital of the world, where police officers need to be more savage than the gangs. What I like. Everything. The comedy is spot on, and the execution is brilliant. I thought this was going to be one of those train crashes in slow motion, but Warlock Holmes happened to be a nice addition to my library. Sorry to disappoint anyone who wanted to hear me rant about wanting to gouge out my eyes with a spoon, but this is a pretty good book. What I don't like. Since putting this video up, it has been 2 years since Denning published the last installment of Warlock Holmes. Since he doesn't have any other titles, I'm guessing that he has a full-time job to prioritize, which is fine. We're all busy. I'd like to see another book come out soon. I think that he could make a good Lestrade and Grogson buddy cop book, but I'm happy with anything. Overall, the book isn't for everyone. No doubt Warlock is going to come off as annoying to some readers, but I suggest that you pick up the audiobook. It has some laugh-out moments. Until later, my friends, this has been Weird But Not Weirder, and enjoy.